We're live 724. You know, that's some stuff. What can I tell you? So the question for tonight is, I'm sure by now everybody watching this probably has seen all of the big social media splash for the new Dodge 1,000+ horsepower run certified 890s. It's pretty impressive. That's super impressive considering the fact that it's a production car. So the question for tonight though is, are we seeing, does this signal, first of all, do you guys think it's the last hurrah for Dodge? Is it the last, is this the high watermark in performance for Dodge? Is this going to be, is this their, is this their mic drop moment? Is this it? And then everything else we see is, going to be a more watered down version, is one of the questions. So have we seen the pinnacle? And if we have, and we're on the on the heel of the cam, or on the closing ramp of the cam, are we going to start seeing performance go away now? I mean, we've enjoyed this muscle car era, this modern muscle car era, arguably since the 80s. And so it's had a long run. But if this is the pinnacle for Dodge, are we going to see somebody else step up? Or are we going to see everything else start tailoring down away from this, from this Mount Everest of performance, basically? What do you guys think? Let me know. I mean, people can argue back and forth about, the electric cars and the performance of them and the viability and the grid and all that stuff. We can talk about all that craziness. But it makes me wonder if people back in the day were looking at stuff and saw, hey, look, is this it? Is this, is this, we're starting to see compression go away? Is this the end? I mean, are we not going to have this anymore? So, it makes me wonder. The other question that this particular vehicle brings up for me is, first of all, what do you guys think? Is this thing, I think it's pretty safe to say this is going to be a future collector car. And rich folks are going to be able to afford this, not your average guy. But it's certainly to be a collector. But this will be our poll. So will this 1,000+ horsepower Dodge, the new, we're going to put factory 8-second 1,000 horsepower Dodge. Do you think that this thing will someday be worth more than a Hemi Cuda? Let me know what you guys think. The next question is, and we're going to play devil's advocate here. So Dodge brings out this very, very cool, it's a NHRA certified 8-second production car, run on E85, big supercharger on it, lots of boost, all kinds of goodness. The question is, does the public, do they need an 8-second, showroom production car? Do we need that? Is that really a thing? When I do the 24-hour thing, one of the things we're going to talk about is this. But we're also going to talk about, because along the same lines, if we look at what happened with the, I guess it is kind of still happening, but if we look at what's happening with the, I was always been a huge fan of supercars, Ferraris, Lambos, all that stuff. And my favorite, as an avid reader of most of the magazines and stuff, I was a big fan of Road and Track and Car Driver, Motor Trend, all those automobile. And my favorite things were when they did top speed shootouts. I was lucky enough to go to a couple of them with my Mustang when they did tuner cars. But I always loved reading about when they did, where they were tested, because I always cared about the top speed. like like you could go use it anywhere, but when I went out to like the Silver State. But that was the thing. That was a high water mark. And if you go way back, you're looking at the Lamborghini Miura and the Ferrari Daytona, and the Daytona Coupe would be better than the Spider, although they were supposed to go similar speeds. But then you go through the Ferrari Boxer and the Testarossa and all the way up through the F40 and all this stuff. And then we progressed to where cars were going like really, really fast. McLaren really stepped up the game with their stuff, and then the Bugattis and all this stuff. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about, is a 300-mile-an-hour supercar, is that necessary? But more importantly, that's an esoteric kind of question. But more importantly, the questions are, what are the other things that are considerations when you're doing this? Because there's a lot of other things to think about. And same thing with this drag race car. I'm surprised that the legal department even allowed them to do this. Not that they shouldn't. I think they should. I salute them. I think it's fantastic. I mean, to be able to go get a car like this is amazing, and it demonstrates, it demonstrates the technology that we have now, because this thing just drives around too. It's not like an old Hemi Cuda with a big cam and high compression and, a special race built one, lightweight, whatever, that would be a terrible driver. It's actually a good driver. It's probably a lot safer than the older cars. It gets better fuel mileage. You could drive through the drive-through and all that stuff. And it's like loads faster than any of those cars ever were. So like I said, I salute them, not only for having the ability, because like making the power is not hard. Lots of guys could make 1,000 horsepower, 1,500 horsepower, whatever. That's not hard. But getting all the other things in line to make that work and have it happen, it's an impressive feat. And like I said, I salute them. But let me know what you guys think on the poll. It's pretty cool. I mean, pretty amazing. But it makes me wonder if, like I said, are we there? Are we right here? And is it downside? Before we were all like, oh, let's go up and up and up and up. Let's 500, 600, 700, 800, 1,000 horsepower. It's good stuff, though. It's a good time. It's this muscle car era has lasted quite a bit longer than the last one did. And with technology improving, it's just all nothing but good. Electrical takeover. I disagree with that. I don't think that that's going to be the case. I think hydrogen internal combustion is probably more likely the future. I don't think that the electric stuff is going to be sustainable, but because there are lots of problems with that. Witnessing the crest of a great era might be the case. Unfortunately, the answers to many of your questions lead to politics. None of those questions are political. They're all automotive related. Richard will start testing battery voltage. Battery technology is an amazing thing. Electric motors are an amazing thing. The control circuitry, I was talking to my buddy Brule from West Tech, who has an electric golf cart, and we were talking about, he was getting me up to speed on all the controllers and battery upgrades and all kinds of things for his cart, because it's just like anything else. We want to hop it up. It's not fast enough. We want it to be faster. Well, here's what you do. Here's how you make more speed. Here's how you make more acceleration. It's really cool. Technology to me is cool. And that one of those technologies doesn't make the other technology bad. You guys should know by now that that's the kind of guy I am. I don't think that if I make a Chevy faster, that it makes a Ford worse because I want to make the Ford faster too. There's so many great things out there, and that's one of them. I like learning about that, and I think it's cool. I don't think I don't politicize things. I'm one of the few people maybe in the world that can have like an honest, emotional conversation about almost every subject. And most people that I talk to cannot do that, which is why I don't bring up a lot of subjects on here, because there will be lots of people that don't react. And I get that on the car side too. That people react emotionally. Oh, I hate LS motors. Well, good. Then just don't get one. Go get whatever motor speaks to you. But that's how people are. New generations don't want or show near as much interest. GT500 2020. Let's see. Jim, that's a good point. Not all people who buy the 1,000 horsepower cars could drive them. I would argue that the vast majority of them cannot. Take a look even at a base Corvette. If you stick a guy out on a road race car in a base Corvette, 99%, 99.9% of the time, the car is way faster than the guy is. Let's see. They're coming after your cars and coming after your guns. Neither one of those things is happening. Jim is spending almost $1 billion to develop the next generation small block. There's still a lot more technology that can happen even in V8s that can make them better. This is not the end of the muscle car era. Good. Yeah, ProCharge Mopar. I agree with you that diesels and over-the-road trucks and that kind of stuff will probably be the last things to go. Eight-second cars better than 9-second cars. Travis, they do sell way more trucks than anything else, and particularly V8 trucks, especially in America. They built a lot more Hellcats than Hemi Cudas. They did. But this particular one, is there a limited production run on this Super Wazoo 1,000 horsepower deal? I don't know what the production count is going to be for this. You could build a faster car for way less money. That's always the case. Matt did an 8-second Mustang for somewhere near $10,000. It's a whole bunch of less, but that's not the point. Rust Horger, what did Dodge have in 72? In 71, Ford had the baddest small block ever produced up until then in their Boss 351. 72, it was detuned a little bit. Oil is base for plastics, brick, cement, everything. Yeah, even if internal combustion engine, if there was a way for that to go away, and I don't think that there is, um, it's still being petroleum is still going to be used for everything else. Yeah, Larry, that's a good point. A warranty on that car that makes 1,000 horsepower. That's impressive. John, I don't get to watch these very often, but thank you for sharing with us. I remember 25 years ago, 300 horsepower was really hard to believe from a 2.2 liter four cylinder. Old school will definitely reach a peak, and this is going to be limited numbers, but 440 Chargers matching numbers are pretty rare, along with Hemi darts that were race spec. Yeah, the light, a lot of the factory lightweight stuff, all that's big money. Dodge had a 426 Hemi back in the day. No Ford or Chevy could touch it, from what I hear. That's not accurate. That a Hemi Cuda was not the quickest production car. It's like Demolition Man's coming to fruition. This was an old 442, right? Camaro, they're only making 3,000 of them. Okay, 3,300, 3,000 demons. Okay. What twin turbo that you? What twin turbo kit did I use on the 351? We just made it. Just had exhaust manifolds, and I may have started out as a 6 racing kit, maybe. And in truth, it's not ideal for what we were doing. But we got all the exhaust of the turbo, so. Justin, you can't beat the fact that 60s and 70s cars in complete restorations are incredible and iconic. I agree. And honestly, I like a 71 Hemi Cuda more than I like a modern Cuda, even though the other one drives nicer and gets better mileage and is probably faster. But it's I like that the older ones are smaller, even though we thought of them as fairly big back then. But the the 9/8 scale modern versions of them, I like a 69 Camaro more than I like a modern version of it, even though, like I said, the other ones are a lot faster and stuff. But I do like a lot of the body, not all of them, but I do like the body styles on the older stuff, like a 69 or 70 Mustang. Bill, you got a new appreciation for the other guys? It's all cool stuff, man. Buick GSX Stage 1, yep. That was a Gentleman's Express. And then the 454 Chevelle, the LS6. And again, it depends on how you optioned it and how it was tuned and all that stuff and how good the driver was. Richard, do you know what the highest horsepower you can make on a 71 426 is? On a stock internal one? I don't know. I'm not a Hemi guy. Boss 429, L88 427. Boss 429 was actually a terrible motor with a stock exhaust manifolds on it. I think it was way more choked off than some of the other stuff was. Do I have any experience with the Crowler LS cams? I don't know. I don't remember running Crowder stuff. But guess what? If they have similar cam specs, they do what the other cams do. Your driver's training car in 72 is a 440 Magnum 4-speed pistol grip. That's awesome, man. Will any EV ever beat a top fuel car in a 1,000-foot race? I don't think so. Camaro LT1, you need to go read up on why the Hemi Superbird was banned. Uh, 428 Cobra Jet Mustang was fast. We ran a one of the engine builders that tests at West Tech ran a 428, an original 428 Cobra Jet with everything factory on it, and it didn't really make very much power. Is a high-tech LS1 harness any good? I've never tried any of their stuff. I think the guys at West Tech have run some of their stuff, but I've never tried it. Tommy, yep. If you have McLaren F1 money, you have enough money to turbocharge it. I don't know if the guys that have those also have the do-it-yourself kind of mentality, because I would do it as long as I had access to the ECU, or I would put another ECU on it. Yeah, ragtop. I can't imagine what the dealers are going to be charging for those things. They really need to make a muscle car with a feature that validates the man card. I think I'm surprised at how many people have not learned to drive a stick. That's one of the reasons that I can't wait to get the Omni back, because I want both of my kids to drive a stick. I mean, when the way that I learned to drive a stick, I was forced to do it. Yeah, we could all put boosted pumps on our electric cars and all that. Synthetic fuels are top priority. That'd be interesting. Are you able to replicate an L88? I have wanted to do that for a long time and have spoken with many people about that, but finding the parts for that is very, very difficult. The heads are the hardest thing to get. (560 horsepower seems like a stretch to me, but it had lots of compression and had decent heads on it. My first car was a stick. I was forced to learn. Yeah. My first car was an automatic. The Camaro was, but I learned in a 4-speed Camaro because the girl that I was dating, we were having to drive to Santa Cruz, and I wanted to drive her parents' car, which she had a 68 Camaro, 327 4-speed car, and we wanted to take her car. And her parents said, "Well, have you ever driven a stick?" "Yeah, all the time." No, I hadn't. So I learned to drive a stick in the Camaro on the way to Santa Cruz. It was awesome. Hondas are good cars to learn to drive sticks in. Matthew. Let's see. I'm currently testing one of your 4.8 setups I've seen on the video. I've installed the truck Norris cam with springs and push rods. What is the cheaper intake that you would use? I can't afford a fast. The Trailblazer SS would be the next step from the fast. All my nieces and nephews only got their automatic license. Are there different licenses in Australia, Joyce? The only rust order, it depends on what year the L88 is, but the aluminum heads on the L88 are specific castings. The only set that I know, the guy from West Tech has a brand new NOS set still in the packaging from 69 or what, 68, 67, whenever it was. And he won't let me run them on a motor. VWs, I had a VW also. 67 Camaro, 327 4-speed. Nice. The UK has different licenses for manual transmissions. I didn't know that. Yeah, Bill, driving tractors is a good idea. I did some of that. And I let my son drive my truck when we're out on the ranch so he could drive on dirt roads and fields and stuff. And so he can't really hit anything. 87 Integra. Yeah, Miata. That is a good one. They have different CDL licenses here in the States now. See, but you don't have licenses for manual transmissions and for automatic transmissions. You have stuff for trucks, for over-the-road trucks. Yeah, if the Camaro leaves too, that's another indication. The rust order, the L89 is an aluminum head option for a number of for the L78 and for the L72, but the L88 was a completely different motor, and the L89 head is not the L88 head. '69 Yenko clone Chevelle, you've heard me mention, has a set of L88 heads on it. That's cool. I would love to run one of those. That would be a really good video. I'd like to run an L88 with the original cam and compression and all that. What good does it do to sit on an old school, new old stock heads, or rather build an engine and run them? But not when the heads are worth $10,000. And if you run them, they're not worth that anymore. I can understand this because somebody's going to pay big money for those, and he's got a bunch of that big block stuff. Remember the first time you realized you could catch second gear? Looking at an 82 Rampage. Nice. Stock 2.2 NA. Automatic with AC. A 990 rec port head is not an aluminum head, right? That's an iron head, isn't it? Let's see. This thing is just full of silliness. Aluminum head, casting number 3919842 is the closed chamber early head, and 3946074 is the later open chamber. Oh, that says it's also used on the L89. So the later open chamber one, so the early one, the closed chamber one, is not the L89. The later one, this is what it's showing. I didn't realize that the later one was shared with the L89. So I was wrong. That was the exciting thing for me and my Camaro when we put a shift kit in my Turbo 350. Chirp, and it would chirp second gear. That's how you knew. Yeah, first car subject. James, you're unhooking your trailer from the truck. B&M Transpac and every Turbo 350. I don't even know. I think ours was a no-name one. I don't think it was a B&M. Shift kit, yep. It can. The shift kit was probably the best thing that we ever did to that little Turbo 350. Not that the motor was ever making any power. It was a base 2-barrel 350, but we put a 4-barrel on it after rebuilding it. Yeah, that was the cool thing about shift kit is it would shift a lot quicker, and you could get a chirp second because making all that power. How's our poll doing? 50-50. Will the new factory 8-second 1,000 horsepower Dodge be worth more than a Hemi Cuda someday? $220 horsepower and 460 foot-pounds. Is that a diesel or something? I drove tractor for my stepdad when we were doing. He was a custom harvester, so we did sugar beets. So I would drive the tractor that had the topper on it, so it topped all the greens basically off the top of the sugar beets, chase all the pheasants out of the field. My LED had iron heads with 230 valves, 180 exhaust. So somebody put something else on there. It had LED drive gear, reverse rotation, saw lifter cam, forged bottom end. So Kevin, somebody did that. Was that a boat motor or something? Fields of pheasant can be so annoying. I remember probably 8 or 10 of them running out the last one because we would top them in rows, however wide the topper was. I can't remember whether it was 4 or 5 rows or whatever, and then you'd go up and turn around and come back. But the pheasants would just keep moving over to the next part of the field, and so they wouldn't come out. They'd all be running down the last group of when you're finishing the field, and then they just run out into another field. But the thing that was cool is when I was doing that is hawks and owls, and oddly enough, seagulls too. And we're pretty far inland from the coast, but seagulls were there too. Because when we would drive the topper, the topper deals, the blade, there weren't blades really, but they would there would be field mice and stuff in there, and the birds would just come down because it would knock them silly. They'd be walking around, and the birds would just come down and gobble them up. And the seagulls were actually the best at it. The LA8 ran a dirt late modified. Sugar beet. The world stopped for sugar beet harvest around here. The new Demon 170 was already stolen. Dom, I haven't seen the Dark Horse Mustang. Cam, I've driven a right-hand drive car. Somebody asked me to drive it on a road race course, but it was hard for me because it's the first time I'd driven sitting on that side, and the driving obviously isn't a problem, but the shifting was a little bit weird for me. Maybe we'll go through another reset and eventually be cool like the 90s. I think you mean the 80s. Started in 1982 with the Boss Mustang. There was a Hemi Coupe or whatever that was stolen, but that's not I didn't think it was a DC 170. Richard, I know you said the AR is not a big variable in one of your videos, but any idea what the difference between a 6.8 and a 96? I think a 6.8 on a 78-75 is going to be pretty tight. What are you using it for? I don't think I would go smaller than a 96 on that turbo. Oh, it's on a 4.8 though? For 500 wheel horsepower, I wouldn't be using that turbo because I think it's too big. I would use a smaller turbo. Debating if I get the Rampage, leave it stock, or T2 swap it. I want to get one of those with a manual trans and then do the T2 swap. Overbuilt. Glad to hear it, man. Have you ever tested exhaust coating? I don't think you're going to see any power from that or heat wrap. Heat wrap, you might see something on response rate for turbos, but probably not on an NA one. I think a GT45 would be a better combination for 500 wheel horsepower. Dawn of 1980, Hot Rod magazine said high performance was dead. It certainly was in the 70s and probably early 80s. I remember when they introduced fuel injection on the Camaro, they said, "Oh, this is the end of performance as we know it. You're not going to be able to do anything." No, it's the introduction of performance. I know the puppies were talking. They wanted probably my son's home. Thinking, man, that's a good idea. Depending on what the track is, go left hand or right hand drive. But you got to be good. It's something it's something I could practice probably and learn the other way. But obviously, having driven for years and shifting with the other hand. Neon engine Rampage. Yep. Yeah, I guess if I had a Rampage, I could swap, and I was swapping something into it. I could swap whatever motor I want. So I could put an SRT4 in there, which would be a much better combination than an 8-valve. How fast is GT45 spool in a 5.3 truck with a stock stall converter? Does it have a stock cam on it too? When will you do the cam test? Redo the cam test for the truck Norris? Probably the next time I'm down there. Yeah, Devin, that would be good. But I think it would be too much like the show that I wanted to do is everything gets a turbo. So to just be every junkyard motor that I could go get, and then we just put a turbo on it. Rust order 7875 would be fine. It's just not it's not ideal for the power level that you're talking about. If you want more power, but then if you want more power, I wouldn't put a 6.8. Actually, I'd be interested to see what happens with that AR on a 4.8 to see if it works. So I kind of want you to try it. Still 50-50 on our poll. Please stick the Ford 7.3 over 1,000 horsepower. With a stock motor, he did that? What's that 7.3 motor rated at stock? Turbo on the Pontiac 350. I have that motor. As a matter of fact, I was supposed to go over and take a look at the head for that. Didn't last long though on the 7.3. Guys are doing that in Coyotes a lot. TDI swap Rampage. A Maserati. Stock ring gap in 20 pounds. I'm sure that blew up. That is a hard poll. I know. That's why I'm here. I'm here to ask the hard questions. I need to get this. I just watched it again. I laugh every time I watch it. I need to get this interview with Alex Taylor up. It's really good. Oh, you're going to boost the 400 Pontiac? Good. I have a 400 block and I have stock rods and pistons and a crank for it. That's right, Russ Order. What could happen if it's? Did you say it has a stock converter? Oh, Arden. CV axles letting go. That's not good. I just want something. I'd like to get rid of my big truck, but I need a truck because Milo's a truck dog, and it'd be easier for him to get in and out of the Rampage. But the Rampage I would have to be dead reliable, so I could go back and forth to West Tech, and also put, I need something I can put engines in the back because I'm going to be going to wrecking yards. I commented on the guys that are doing the 4-valve V10. I commented on their channel. I went to their channel to watch some of the stuff and made comments on it, and then they came back and commented on them. I told them how awesome it was, and they said, "Yes, we're not using logic for this, obviously." I said, "Dude, you guys are my kind of guys. That's just perfect." So Overgo, you're going to do a VW diesel swap into a Willys Jeep. That'd be good. The Godzilla's 430 horsepower stock. That's pretty good. So it should be easy to make 1,000 horsepower. There's a Rampage for sale in Long Beach. The thing that I worry about with the Rampage is the electronics on it. James, I think you'd be better off with the stock cam and the turbo than you would be with the Truck Norris cam, especially if it's just going to be towing. It's not going to be as responsive as an LSA blower is, but the nice thing is when you're towing, you're putting load on it. It actually makes the turbo more responsive. Small bed in a trailer. That's right. I do like the little VW trucks as well. He put it in the H before it let go. It pushed past 1,000 horsepower, but let go because of it. Yeah. Yeah, I do like the VW trucks. I would like a turbo diesel one of those. Gas is pretty expensive in California now. It's gone back up. Kind of pissing me off. Thought it was going down. And it was for a long time there. I sure like when I took the trip back to Ohio, because gas got less and less as I went through more states. SRT4 Neon. Does the SRT4, is that a 5-speed or a 6-speed trans? James, if you're going to do it for towing, I would look at a torque cam maybe. But either one of them will work. SRT4 is a 5-speed. Okay. Cords, do you know what the Does anybody have, and I think somebody sent this to me, but I can't remember. Do you know if anybody has if they know what the timing curve is under boost of the 2.2s or 2.5s? I need to know how much timing these things are supposed to run under boost. It's I want to know airfield. I want to know timing. So if anybody has that, let me know. Send me an email or whatever, and let me know if somebody has that. I'd like to know if it's running. If we run the motor NA at 35 degrees, whatever this thing wants. I don't know what it's going to want. Are they running under boost? Are they running like from 15 to 20 degrees? It's going to go up with RPM, I'm sure, but let me know if anybody has that. And also update on the 2.5 that I had that came out of the Omni. That's now done machining. So it's ready to be put back together, and it's been machined to receive an MLS head gasket. So I'm going to put an MLS head gasket on it. It has forged pistons, and it will have head studs. And I'm thinking about just starting out with a ported head on it. So, and it also has a bigger exhaust manifold and a turbo upgrade, and what looks like a kind of halfway ported intake manifold. Probably be cheaper to put a PT Cruiser engine in the Rampage than an SRT. I would think so. I see lots of those in the wrecking yard. That's an idea for a show. Does a torque cam increase torque over a stock cam? Yes, it does. I've already tested that. Yeah, the 2.5 will be fun. That would be good to put in a Rampage. If I had the money to put anything in anything, I would put turbos on a McLaren F1. Sean, put a 4G63 in a Rampage. Would also be good. The thing I like about the 2.2 or 2.5 swap is it just goes right in. The transmission, everything just hooks right up. Oh, you got a chicken crisis. Matt, you're LS swapping a Biscayne. Very, very cool. LQ4, ported 243s, milled 10, Summit Pro truck cam, LS6 intake, hooker gas manifold. Nice. I could do a 2.2 head gasket in 20 minutes and 87s. I know they just unbolt it, lift up the head, and then slide the gasket and put it back down. so nobody's checking deck surfaces or anything. Micah, I don't know how to pronounce your name. The McLaren would just be a dream car. We were talking about that before. Like a stock Suzuki Samurai. Have we tested the Holley style Summit 750 carburetor? I have not. The US is going to look like Cuba. If we're reverting back to the 1950s. I like C4 Corvettes. They're very, very capable. Subaru Brats are cool. Coolio. Mica. Yeah, we have we know a couple of Micas. That's the way that they did the head gasket on mine. That's all been redone and the engine's running now. So hopefully it'll be another chassis dyno test. Matt, I don't know what the Summit Pro Truck Stage 2 high lift cam is. I don't know what the specs are on that. If you throw me some duration numbers at 50, I can give you an idea. Chop up a VR4. I wouldn't chop up a VR4 if I had one. I would just drive the VR4 because those are also cool. G63. Subaru Brumby. I do have trophy 4-cylinder. Thanks, Terry. The trophy 4-cylinder is all done. We have the cam and it's ready to put back together. Bob, you want the Greenwood Turbo, the Corvette? A twin stick Colt swap for the Rampage? I need to learn to summarize and type faster. Get those words out. Use your words. What's a horsepower limit of the Gen 3 rods? We've gone to 1,480 horsepower so far. So you're not going to get there. And that was 1,300 foot-pounds or something. We had, I don't know, 70 or 80 pulls at 1,000 horsepower. So you're not gonna hurt it. Dean, are you the 51%? If I can come up with an IHC 196 Comanche, we do a 4-cylinder from a V8 shootout. I don't know that I have what I would need to run that motor. Why is everyone wanting a Gen 4 rod? Because somebody has told them that Gen 4 rods are better. Somebody says, well, which rods are better? Well, the Gen 4 rods are stronger. They are. But that's not the right question. The right question is, can I use the rods that I have? And the answer is still yes. And then the other thing people don't realize about stock rods, especially stock rods that have 100, 200, 300 or more thousand miles on them. How were they treated? What's the cycle life of the rod? How much abuse did they have? Did they get a bunch of detonation? Are they on the verge of breaking already? You don't know. Does running no thermostat affect horsepower? Cold water and hot oil make the most horsepower. Adam, I think the 4-valve heads would make more power than a 2-valve, but you're going to have other things that you have to do with that 4-valve swap. The weakest point of a stock LS is what? the guy tuning it? Miguel, why would one of those? First of all, neither one of those are nitrous manifolds. So his question is, which manifold would be better for nitrous, a 6-liter nitrous, a Holley Hiram, or Super Victor? Neither one of them are nitrous manifolds. So there's no such thing as that. So then the question would be, which one of those makes more power? I'd have to look up and see how close they were on the test that I did. And then it depends on how you're introducing nitrous. Are you doing a fogger system on each one of them? Jim, I don't really follow too much drag racing. Why do most modern engines run at 210 or hotter from the factory if colder is better? It's not better for emissions. It's not better for fuel mileage. Hotter is much better for the motor. It just doesn't make as much power. The factory is never trying to make as much power as they can. They're trying to make the power that they need to make, but also make the motor last as much as it can, get the best mileage, have the least amount of emissions, all of that. James, we made 1482 on the Gen 3 6-liter, 13 on the 5.3, and 12 on the 4.8. Those are all Gen 3 motors. James, the Demon had the AC deal that they used for the intercore. Distribution wise will be a function of how you're injecting the nitrous. Matt, so you have a 218, 227 cam in it? LS6 intake. I'm thinking that's 475, 480 probably. Torque is going to be a little less than that. Have you ever seen a 2.5 third gen 85 or so Camaro? You mean the 2.5 engine in one? I don't know if I've ever seen one in person, but I know the 4-cylinder was a base engine for those cars, right? Jim, I was never a big follower of drag racing anyway. I may know what it is, but I've only ever been to one Top Fuel event in my life, and I was much more of a road racer. Yeah, overbuilt, and the 2.5 is an Iron Duke was the base engine for those. One more minute. I have an Edelbrock Victor single plane intake for a 462 valve with adapter plate to fit 5.4 would be better than a stock truck intake. It's definitely going to hurt, Dom. It's definitely going to hurt low speed power. Anytime you run a single plane manifold on anything, it's going to hurt low speed power compared to the factory intake manifolds. And on that note, it's time to go. Got to close out our thing at, we sneak up to 51% saying no, that they don't think that the new one, they think that the Hemi Cuda is going to win out. Probably so. Thank you guys all for showing up. I will be back tomorrow morning. By the way, update, today was a good day trading. Thank you guys. See you tomorrow. Bear.